This is Plant-Based Briefing, How to Get Calcium Without Dairy by Thomas Campbell, MD at nutritionstudies.org. I'm Marian Erickson, host of this curated content plant-based podcast, where I narrate articles on healthy, compassionate, and sustainable living with permission in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And today's episode is about calcium again. I did one yesterday on calcium because there are so many misconceptions out there, even, unfortunately, from many physicians who don't know nutrition information because they're not taught it in medical school and incorrectly recommend that their patients need to consume dairy and animal products in order to have healthy bones. That is not the case. So check out yesterday's episode and some other ones I had referenced at the end of that. And now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. How to Get Calcium Without Dairy by Thomas Campbell, MD at the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies at nutritionstudies.org. Because of some of the evidence suggesting milk is unhealthy, I suggest you skip the cow's milk. However, this does not mean that calcium is unimportant. Calcium is vital for bone health. Bone health is incredibly complex. It involves many other nutrients besides calcium, protein, phosphorus, vitamin D, sodium, etc., plus lifestyle factors like exercise. But calcium is the one that comes up most often when we think of bone health. Government-recommended calcium intakes are controversial and could be the topic of a long discussion, but the bottom line is that individuals should consume at least 500 milligrams of calcium daily from a whole food plant-based diet. One European study found that vegans had a 30% higher risk of fracture compared to meat eaters, but those vegans also had a significantly lower calcium intake than the other groups. When the researchers only considered vegans who ate at least 525 milligrams of calcium daily, they found no increased fracture risk. If you're following a whole food plant-based lifestyle, you can get over 500 milligrams of calcium a day without thinking twice about it. The chart below shows some of the calcium content of many different plants. For comparison, whole cow's milk has 276 milligrams of calcium per cup. The following data is from the USDA Nutrient Database, and it does not include calcium-fortified plant milks. Half a cup of raw soybeans has 258 milligrams of calcium. Half a cup of white beans has 242 milligrams. 1 cup of frozen kale boiled and drained has 179 milligrams of calcium. Half a cup of frozen collard greens has 178. 1 cup of cooked Chinese cabbage has 158 milligrams of calcium. Half a cup of navy beans has 153 milligrams. Half a cup of mustard spinach has 142 milligrams. 1 tablespoon of whole dried sesame seeds has 88 milligrams of calcium. 1 orange has 61 milligrams. 1 cup of whole wheat flour has 41 milligrams of calcium. 1 sweet potato has 40 milligrams. 10 almonds have 32 milligrams of calcium. Half a cup of broccoli has 31 milligrams. 1 cup of whole wheat spaghetti has 21 milligrams of calcium. And even 1 medium cooked red tomato has 14 milligrams of calcium. Certain greens are particularly rich in calcium, but all whole plants have some calcium. Consider also that the absorption of calcium varies. We absorb roughly a third of calcium in milk or calcium supplements. Some low oxalate greens have a significantly higher proportion of absorbable calcium: kale, mustard, and turnip greens, bok choy, and broccoli, to name a few. Some beans and high oxalate greens like spinach have a lower percentage of absorbable calcium, though they have relatively high total calcium. If your calories all come from whole plant-based foods, including plenty of fruits, greens, beans, and other vegetables, you need not fret about calcium requirements or do any fancy math or milligram counting. You'll be fine. But what about the many people who avoid greens, beans, and other vegetables? About 75% of the calcium in the standard American diet comes from dairy foods. If you cut all dairy foods, you must replace them with healthy foods, which some people neglect to do. I worry about vegans or omnivores who avoid dairy, who mostly eat processed foods, including unfortified snacks and grain-based foods laden with added sugar, fat, and salt. These vegans are often trying to transition to a healthier diet, but aren't yet digging the daily cup of beans or cooked greens I recommend. I suggest these amounts as minimums. I'm guessing these are the types of diets linked to higher fracture rates represented in the European study mentioned above. For these individuals, I suggest consuming certain fortified foods daily. For example, many unsweetened, non-dairy milks are highly fortified with calcium. These are the easiest calcium sources. Many cereals and juices are also fortified, and tofu often has a high calcium content. Lastly, lest we get carried away with calcium obsession, it bears repeating that bone health is strongly influenced by other dietary and lifestyle factors. Exercise, particularly in adolescence, is especially important. Exercise in adolescence may even be more important to adult bone mineral content than calcium intake. So get outside, get a reasonable amount of sunshine, and use those bones. Reinforcing this recommendation is the fact that vitamin D, obtained from moderate sunshine exposure, plays a critical role in your body's ability to absorb calcium. I discuss calcium in greater detail in my book, The Campbell Plan, but if you only follow the recommendations for bone health in this article, you'll be fine. If you have a specific condition that might alter your calcium needs, discuss it with your physician. You will also enjoy the numerous side effects of consuming healthy calcium sources. Fruits, beans, greens, and other vegetables offer multitudes of nutrients working together to promote health in numerous ways. When you eat well for your bones, you also eat well for your heart, brain, kidneys, and just about every organ in your body. So leave the baby cow food aside and eat the foods designed and packaged by nature for humans. You just listened to How to Get Calcium Without Dairy by Thomas Campbell, MD, at nutritionstudies.org. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. And wow, I didn't realize that exercise in adolescence may be even more important to adult bone mineral content than calcium intake. That is so wild. That's so important for our kids to be getting exercise. At the end of yesterday's episode, I did refer to some other calcium episodes you might be interested in, but today he did talk about tofu being a good source of calcium, so I would also recommend checking out episodes 757 and 758, Tofu, What It Really Is and How to Enjoy It, by Brigitte Jem at veganfamilykitchen.com. I'll link that in the show notes as well. So please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.